Welcome Roberto Martínez on match day -1 press conference ahead of our game against Portugal here in the Estadio de la Cartuja. Please raise your hands for questions for Roberto Martínez, and then we can start the press conference with the coach. Yves Telleman from La Dernière Heure, you can start. Yves.
Coach, will you train on penalty kicks during this training, or are you afraid that there might be some Portuguese spies in the tribunes? And second question, have you already got 5 penalty takers in your head, or will the players decide tomorrow at the moment?
Yeah, well, obviously the work on the penalty kicks is something that you do during the preparation phase and during the tournament. It's not something that you do just before a game. It would become a bit too unrealistic. But it is true that there's a clear list that at any moment we would use, and that's a bit of work that we did for 2018 in the World Cup, and we've done it for the Euros. So it's not just because of the knockout phase. It's something that we've been accumulating in the last few 6 months, I would say.
Okay, thank you. Fred Bleus, L'Avenir.
Hello, Coach. Nasser Chadli can't play tomorrow. Is it a major problem for you for the left side, and especially for the defensive profile?
Well, obviously,
because Castagne is all there.
Yeah, sorry. Obviously, we don't want to miss any players. I think Nasser yesterday wasn't feeling 100%. We thought that just by taking an easier day and an individual work, it would be fine for today. And overnight hasn't felt any better. We decided not to travel. We still got an opportunity to travel tomorrow. He feels a lot better. The information I've got from the doctors now is that probably he's doing work in 2Bs. So we'll see if he flies over tomorrow or not. But I don't think it will be the right approach after having 2 days that he hasn't been able to work at 100%. But he should be fine. If we progress, it will be fine in the next round. You don't want to lose any players, but that's probably why we have 25 players in the squad, and we need to share that responsibility when a player is not with the group.
Okay, thank you. Yuri de Lecour, Belga.
Hi, Coach. Tomorrow will be your 60th appearance on the Belgian bench. What does it mean for you?
Well, I didn't know that it was the 60th game, but obviously any time that I'm the head coach of the Red Devils, it gives me an enormous pleasure and an enormous pride, and especially in a major tournament like the Euros. And that's I cannot put it into words how privileged I am to be part of this group and to part of the whole team. And as always, the head coach probably is the visible face, but tomorrow the 60 games then is a celebration of the hard work of all the staff members, that we got over 36 people really committed to the team, supporting the team, and then the players that they've been fantastic since day one when I arrived to the national team.
Okay. José Antonio Espina, Diario AS, España.
Roberto, buenas tardes. Una pregunta sobre el césped. Dijiste que tenías informaciones de que podía estar mal. No sé si lo has visto ya por primera vez, una primera vista. ¿Qué te ha parecido el césped de la Cartuja?
Bueno, la verdad que teníamos muchísimas noticias del césped, de que había habido problemas durante los partidos de la selección española, pero tengo que admitir que el grupo de trabajadores aquí en la Cartuja está haciendo un gran trabajo, y la verdad que el césped está bastante en una buena condición. El césped pues es el mismo para los dos equipos, y aún creo que mañana estará en una mejor condición cuando se le puede cortar un poquito más y poder regar. Yo creo que el césped no será ningún problema. Han hecho un gran trabajo. Ver el césped mejorar en medio de junio es un gran ejemplo del gran trabajo que se ha hecho aquí en la Cartuja.
Muchas gracias. Ludo van der Wallen, het Nieuwsblad. Ludo.
Roberto. Can you tell us about the atmosphere in the group, in the squad today? Because is it the same as it was against Brazil or France, or is the mentality of winning even more bigger now?
I think we are a bit more narrow-minded. I think the mentality is the same that we had to go to St. Petersburg. This is a very unique format in this tournament. We've been based in Tubize, which feels home. Every time we go back to Belgium, is a real familiarity. We can work with real focus in our pitches, in our dressing room, in our rooms. And every time we leave, today we had a lot of fans on the journey that they give us their appreciation, and you could see that is a big game and a game that it means a lot. But I would say that internally there is a real focus. There's a lot of experience. There's a lot of excitement. I think this team has worked really hard to be in games like tomorrow. It's been many, many years of working a lot of concepts, a lot of aspects behind the scenes, traveling all over Europe, and everything is for performances like tomorrow. So there is a real excitement. There's a real naturality as well. I haven't seen anything different from an emotional point of view, and I just feel that there's a lot of energy to be on the pitch tonight and be ready for tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Ludo. Nico Tange, De Standaard.
Hello, Roberto. Hello. Do you expect an open or a closed game tomorrow?
Well, I think those sort of games, there is always depending on the first goal. We all know that Portugal, a group of phenomenal individuals, but they are a winning team, that they've been able to work without the ball for long spells and be very comfortable and be a real threat on the counter-attack. They've got real experience. They are the European champions. They won the Nations League. So I think the games against a team like that with so much experience, they adapt very well in the moments of the game. So to talk about if it's going to be an open game or not, when you see the two types of teams that we have on the pitch, will depend a lot on how the first goal goes in and how the game develops at that point.
Okay, thank you. Javier Cáceres, Süddeutsche Zeitung from Germany. Javier.
Hola, mister. Está claro que Cristiano Ronaldo y Kevin De Bruyne son dos grandes campeones. ¿Podría argumentarme en términos futbolísticos por qué no cambiaría De Bruyne por Ronaldo?
Claro, hay una respuesta muy sencilla, que es el afecto y el estado de haber trabajado con Kevin por 5 años. De alguna manera, lo que puedo hablar de Cristiano Ronaldo es desde la distancia y como aficionado del fútbol. Yo creo que Kevin De Bruyne para mí es el mejor playmaker en el mundo del fútbol en estos momentos. Es un jugador especial, es un jugador que juega con el cerebro, es un jugador que hace a los jugadores alrededor importantes, y la verdad que no he visto a otro jugador de ese estilo nunca. Pero claro, mi respuesta es muy clara, también es porque tengo un lado muy claro de afinidad al trabajo de Kevin y el cariño que le tengo personalmente.
Gracias. Christophe Franken, La Dernière Heure.
Coach, it will be your first competition game in Spain since 26 years with Balaguer. How is it special for you? Do you will have family in the stadium or other things?
It's a good point, Christophe. I think the game is so exciting and a big tournament that I think it doesn't really matter if it's my first competitive game back in Spain or not, but it is true. It's special to come back to Spain, to be able to be in an official game. It's my first game that I coach here. Obviously, the last game that I had competitively was as a player. I only had one friendly when I was in the British game, and we came to play in Vigo. But yes, the family will come down. They're excited. There are no restrictions. They can just drive down and watch the game and excited and support the Red Devils with a very clear Spanish accent.
Gracias. Thank you. Sid Lowe from The Guardian, UK.
It's been an enormous pleasure, all of these games that you've been in charge of the Belgian national team. how much of it has been a pressure as well? Because presumably, obviously, everybody's aware that this is a very special generation of players, that it's a generation of players, obviously, that's maturing together and possibly only has 2 more tournaments left in it. Does that load pressure on you as well as the sense of pleasure?
Yes, I think is the standards that they are expected in this national team. This is not a national team that it can turn up and see how the result goes. I think we made it very clear that we wanted to be a winning team, that we wanted to be a consistent group of players committed to the national team, and that's why we've been able to reach the #1 spot in the FIFA ranking because of that consistency in our results over the last 3 years. But obviously that counts for nothing. Tomorrow is tournament football. You have to adapt from what we did in the group phase. Now we're facing the third of another group, and as it happens to be, they are the European champions and they are Nations League champions. So it's a game that probably should happen a little bit further in the tournament. And that's probably the standards that they are expected every time the #1 team in the world plays, expected to win. But probably the players that we have, they have that sort of expectation and pressure at club level. And I'm only glad, probably I lasted 5 years as a national team coach at such a, let's say, a young age for a coach, just because of that intensity, that pressure of having to win every game you go into.
Okay, thank you. ESPN TV.
Thank you. About comparing to what you've done 3 years ago, what is the major improvement that you have seen in your group, and where was your focus on that improvement? What do you think was the most important thing you need to develop coming to this tournament? Thank you.
I think there were 2 major areas. One, we wanted to be to have a wider squad in terms of players that they could play and replace each other. As it happens in big tournaments, you go from one phase to another with an injury, with a suspension. And a lot of the work has been to widen the squad and being able to use younger players that they could bring that competitive nature in the group. And I feel that we have achieved that. Probably we are a bigger team than 11 players now. And probably that's been the strength of the last 3 years since the World Cup. And then, as you can imagine, to be together for extra 3 years makes you wiser, makes you more synchronized, makes you older, which in football terms is called experience. And I think those are always real benefits in any football team, especially international football, that you cannot work for 12 months a season. You do it 5 times a year. So I do feel that the team is more synchronized. It's got a real focus as a group, and we share the same goals, which is wonderful to see.
Thank you. We have one question for Ludo van der Wallen, het Nieuwsblad. Ludo again.
Not reaching the quarterfinals, would you consider it as a failure?
Well, I think it's a question that is not the time to answer. I think it's the work that we're doing and everything that we've been doing is to try to win every game that we go into, and that's the focus we have tomorrow. Now, after the game, then if the result is not the one, then you can ask me. There are many ways that you can go through a tournament. I would say that now the players, they've been flawless in this tournament so far. Every day of the preparation, every day of the work, the commitment, and then we got 3 wins out of 3 games. So at this point, everything is going well. It sounds for me a bit strange to be able to speak about a possible scenario when all we're doing now is being in a very positive vibe, full of momentum, looking into the first knockout phase of this tournament.
Okay, thank you. Last question is for Javier Cáceres, Süddeutsche Zeitung.
Sí, mister. Si visualiza el partido, si se lo imagina, ¿cuáles son las 2, 3 claves tácticas o futbolísticas que tiene que respetar su equipo para llevarse el triunfo mañana?
Bueno, mañana yo creo que es un partido que va a tener mucha exigencia a nivel de la concentración. Cuando tienes un equipo como Portugal, que está muy bien armado, que trabaja muy bien la fase defensiva, eso les produce un gran peligro en el contragolpe y un gran peligro porque tiene ciertas individualidades, y diría que todos los jugadores de ataque tienen ese momento de calidad que si puedes desconectarte del partido, pues puede ser probablemente imposible de ganar. Y yo creo que sería esa faceta. Esperamos un equipo como Portugal con muchísima experiencia, que tiene una gran capacidad para jugar muy bien con el balón, pero también para sufrir sin ello y hacer las cosas muy complicadas en el contragolpe. Y para mí es una faceta que tenemos que controlar bien y sin dejar de ser nosotros muy fieles a nuestro estilo, tenemos que ser muy conscientes que a este equipo de Portugal le cuesta muy poquito hacerte daño.
Okay. Muchas gracias a todos. Que pasen buena noche. Thanks all. Have a nice evening here in Seville or wherever you are. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you,
and
Stefan.
see you tomorrow in the post-match press conference.